Hi, I'm Jason Sterling. This is the RM Cascadian Travel Vlog. And today, my son and I board the Halcyon for a 48-hour interactive adventure aboard the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser at Disney World. Well and truly, got my first drink in hand, about to go do the mustard drill, just to like to get it out of the way. I got on really early, and as you Now, it's day 2. Thank you for joining me for video 3, day 2. It's day 2 on the Halcyon Star Cruiser, Galactic Star Cruiser, mind you, Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. Let's get all the names in there, all the words in there. And it is morning on the Star Cruiser. My son and I had a very restful evening, I would say. Really very restful sleep. The beds are very comfortable. I've gone over that in a room review. Beds are very comfortable. We get up quick. We get ready quick. We go down and swallow breakfast, or down, because we were on deck 5. Go down to deck 4, swallow breakfast equally quick. Breakfast was good. This was our first breakfast on the ship, of course. I went over a little bit in food already. Here's some pictures, kind of what we had that day, right? You could also grab a grab-and-go box of breakfast from the cantina if you wanted to, or in addition, both. Do both if you wanted to. The breakfast box in the cantina, though, did include, like, yogurt. I think that was the only thing, but that you should keep refrigerated. Yeah, so grabbing the box, be sure and eat it right off the bat, or you might be, have kind of warm, spoiled yogurt later. Now, our first thing to do this day was the professional portrait session, right? From Disney, photographer comes on board with his assistant, takes pictures of just you and your crew in various locations around the ship. It was $99 when I bought it because I was exceedingly lucky, I guess. It's gone up now to $399. Let's talk about this a little bit and take a look at what I got anyway out of this package and how I felt about it. Now, even at $99, I had some pretty firm ideas of what I wanted picture-wise around the ship. I wanted pictures that kind of represented what my son and I did as part of our adventure and our voyage. I related that to the photographer at the start. Okay, this is kind of where I'm interested in taking some pictures. This is what I want to do. I want some pictures of my son and I playing sabacc out here, in the atrium. I want some pictures of us using the control panels in engineering. I want a picture maybe of us trying to break into the cargo hold door. Stuff like that. And I said, and if we throw in a picture of us on the bridge or a picture or two, maybe throw in a picture in the cantina, that's great. But, I really want to get these 3 key things in, right? That's my deal. That's my goal. So we get started, and the very first place he wants to do is the bridge. Now, I'm thinking we're already in the atrium. Why don't we just, take pictures of my son and I playing sabacc in the atrium? But we go to the bridge. I got to be honest with you. This is where it kind of breaks down. I probably have more pictures on the bridge than any place else on this ship. And most of the pictures on the bridge, well, not most, all of the pictures on the bridge is stuff that we didn't do. It all kind of looked to me like Disney marketing shots, and you'll see some of them here, like putting the ship into hyperspace. We didn't put the ship into hyperspace. We did not put the ship into hyperspace. Or kind of clandestinely looking at, the monitors or something. That didn't happen either. Now, a picture of us looking at the monitors would have been fine. We did do bridge training. We had not done it yet, but it would have been fine. But all of this sort of stuff that makes it look like all the stuff that Disney's selling is what it looked like. It looked like marketing shots. It looked like, hey, they might show their friends and family this, so let's make sure that they have pictures that show them doing what we're selling, right? Okay. So he did that. After that, he wanted to go to the lounge, right? And again, I'm thinking, I just want a couple of pictures in the lounge. Maybe one picture at the bar or something, that's it, right? We end up at the Hollow Sabacc table. Now, I've already commented on this. My son and I never got a chance to play Hollow Sabacc. But he takes a bunch of pictures there as well. And again, to me, it felt like Disney marketing shots. We didn't play Hollow Sabacc. I asked for pictures of us out in the atrium playing sabacc because that's what he and I did, and I want pictures that look like that. So we get done with the lounge, and believe me, I know we've burned a lot of time in these first 2 places. We only have 20 to 30 minutes anyway. I think it was 30. But I feel like we've burned a lot of time already. So we're getting ready to leave. It's like, okay, well, let's go down to engineering. I'm like, listen, stop. Haven't I already mentioned, I want to take pictures of he and I playing sabacc in the atrium. This is where we played sabacc. I want to get some pictures of stuff that it looks like we did it. Our trip, our pictures, our memories, our photos, looks like we did it. So we do get that. Now, we do get that. And some of my favorite shots he did take in the atrium. So let me stop real quick and say he did great shots. I thought he did some really good shots. They looked really good. Thought they were professional. I was happy with the outcome on them. And here at the end, we'll talk about how many I ultimately really, really, really liked and whether or not I thought it was worth $99. What I think is worth $399. But we do those shots. And again, I'm thinking, let's go to engineering. Let's look like we're trying to break into a console or something. Instead, we got very standard looking Disney marketing shots. Here's us sneaking into engineering. Kind of makes it like you're going to sneak around. There's no really any sneaking in engineering. Maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. But I had fun in engineering. I had fun doing my missions there. But we didn't sneak clandestinely around through all of this stuff. It wasn't empty. As I touched on, it was usually full of people. But yeah, we didn't do that. And to me, those shots again look like exactly like Disney marketing was putting out. So I kind of felt like, okay, am I doing these pictures for me, or am I doing these to help promote me and my memories, right? Am I doing it for me and my memories, my family, what we did, or am I doing it to promote the Star Cruiser with everybody who might see it? Right. So we did that. We did not have time left to take anything by the cargo hold or anything. Okay, fine. It's not that big a deal. But so that was it. We basically had those 4 locations: the atrium, the lounge, the bridge, and engineering. I did think he was a good photographer. I did think he took, good pictures. Let's get that in there. Now, I think in the end there was probably like a half dozen different pictures that I thought maybe not quite that many. Maybe 5. Let's say 6, maybe 5, 6 pictures that I really thought, I really like these. I'm going to print these out at home. I really like these pictures. And for $99, that was fine. For $99, that really was fine. I thought for $99 for 6 great pictures, 6 pictures I really like, yeah, that's fine. That's a good deal. Now, overall, he took about I'd have to count them, but off the top of my head right now, I'm thinking he took about 47, 48 pictures, something like that. That's a lot of pictures. Now, a lot of them look alike, right? So several different shots of the exact same scene, so you can kind of pick the one that you think is best, right? And they go through afterwards, and I think they're supposed to do some basic touch-ups. I didn't really see anything that looked that touched up or like it definitely hadn't had any special effects or anything added to it. So, but I got 6 out of it. I really liked it for $99. It was definitely worth it for 6 photos. If I had paid $399, you guys, that's $400. If I had paid $400 for it, I don't think I would have been as happy at all. $400 end up with, I would want at least 20 pictures that I really liked. And you're just not in that many locations that have that many different pictures. You can kind of see, I've been showing the pictures here. You can kind of see these are the same spots, right? Just slightly different poses. And so $400 is a lot of money to spend for a handful of pictures. Now, that said, at the end of the day, I had Memory Maker at PhotoPass thing, right? And I did think, hey, I'm going to get some more pictures of my son and I on Batuu in Star Wars costumes, and that's going to be great, right? That's going to be really great, too, add on to this. And I'm kind of thinking, maybe I should have just stuck with that because, even as it was, even at the start, I kind of was thinking, he really wasn't listening to what I wanted, like photography-wise, right? They turned out well. He's a good photographer. Let me reiterate that because I don't want anyone to think that he isn't. He is. I don't think he listened well enough, or if he listened to Disney, and Disney said, hey, make sure you do pictures that look like what we're selling. So if he puts it on Instagram, puts it on Facebook, people be like, oh, he got to put the ship into hyperspace. Oh, look, he's playing with the hollow sabacc table. Oh, man, that sort of thing, right? As it was, though, on Batu, this is coming up because we're getting ready to go down to Batu after this photo session. It rained. Now, I was going to do photos after we were done with our missions before we went up for lunch. I thought, then we'll walk around and we'll hit all these photo pass spots. There's like 3 or 4 of them. And we'll get some shots. And it started raining. And it rained a lot. And it rained heavy. And we ended up going back to the ship. And I didn't get any pictures on Batu of us in costume. So those photo pass pictures were the only ones I ended up with my son and I in costume. One of our costumes. We had... I'll show a couple of bad selfies here that I took, but, you know, that gives you an idea of what we wore the rest of the time. The second one I'll post here is the same shot we had on in these pictures with the PhotoPass photographer. I just added a sort of vest thing over it to give it a little more formal look for dinner. So that said, now, if I'd been foolish enough to spend $400 on this to begin with, and I don't think I would have been, if I had, and I didn't get any pictures in Batu, which I didn't, and these are the only pictures I have from this journey, pretty much of my son and I together, right? Because I took a lot of pictures. I took pictures of him. There aren't very many pictures of he and I together. Yeah, that probably would have been worth $400. I mean, does it sound foolish to say that? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it does. But if someone had said, hey, you could have built, you know, a lightsaber and a droid, or you could have these pictures of your son and you together. Which do you want? I would say, well, I'll take the pictures of my son and I together. And both those cases are $400. So, you know, make up your own mind about it. But in my case, I was really glad at the end of the day I did it. I really was. It was only $100, and I did love this handful of pictures, you know, and I like the other pictures too. I mean, it's just that they all look so close to each other. But yeah, I was so glad to have them at the end of the day. So what can I say? That's my take on the professional portrait session. You know, it really kind of saved the day picture-wise with my son and I at the end.
Okay, my son and I had an uneventful sleep after a very eventful day yesterday. Tons of stuff happened here on the Halcyon Starliner. But for this morning, we're headed down to Batu. We've got a couple of missions to take care of. Also, it's my birthday, so we're going to have a special birthday drink at Oga's, our favorite place on Batu, right, son?
Mm-hmm. He's old.
I'm old, but that's okay. Better to be old than be dead. And we're also going to build a birthday droid today, and because I love my son, despite the fact he calls me old, I'm going to let him build a birthday droid too, because my little droid there, RUSLS, is going to have a new little brother. Yeah, new little brother. And we're going to head down now. We're going to take the elevator, in fact, this time, down to the surface. No, we're going to take a special transport. We're taking a special transport, a shuttle from Batu, not the transport we took to the ship, and we will check back in later. Ready? Say goodbye.
Bye.
Session we had to book it. We really had to race down to the shuttle. Luckily, everybody went really early, naturally, right? So we were some of the few people left on the ship, some of the few passengers left on the ship. So when we got to the shuttle, it was not crowded. I think we were the first people in line waiting for the next shuttle. We got on board. A few other people got on board with us, so it was not completely empty. There were other people on the ship. But we got on board. Now I'm going to say this real quick. There's been some derision. I've said that before. There was a lot of derision about this because there's a lot of people that don't like how much it costs, and it didn't live up to whatever they were expecting when Disney announced it, right? We're going to do a Star Wars hotel. It's not a hotel. I've said that as well. It's not a hotel. It's not. I wish they'd never said that. I don't know who came up with that. A lot of influencers have said it. A lot of, reporters online have said it or whatever. It's not a hotel. But this particular mode of transport has gotten a little bit of derision because even though you cannot tell this from the inside, and you seriously cannot. You cannot tell it from this ship. You cannot tell it from inside The transport itself, it is a seamless connection. When you walk from the ship onto it, seamless. You don't see the outside, nothing like that. But it's a box truck. Are we going to pretend? No, we're not going to pretend. Are we going to play? No, we're not going to play. It's a box truck. Now, the inside looks very Star Wars. Super, super cool. I really, really did like it. There's some music playing. A robot's taking you down to the surface, right? It's a lot different than the elevator that you take up naturally because it's actually a physically moving vehicle. The elevator's not. But the way I looked at it, the way I justified it to myself is this. The Batuu shuttle literally comes from Batuu. They don't have a sophisticated hyperspace shuttle like the Halcyon does. Batuus probably have some old rust bucket shuttle, and their port authority probably insists that the Halcyon pay for their shuttle to come and get its people and take them down to the surface. And I'm guessing that's probably the case. Sometimes, like when a cruise ship goes into a port and they make the port makes their own tug come out, right, and lead them through. Like the Panama Canal, they do that. They make a tug, they make one of their own pilots come out on a tugboat, get onto the ship, and guide the ship through themselves. Same thing with Batuu. Batuu insists that you use their shuttles to support their economy, and so you take one of their shuttles down, and the shuttle's older, so as you're passing through the atmosphere, you're going to feel that vibration and that movement, which feels remarkably like the movement of being in the back of a truck. Here on Earth, it does, but it also does feel a little bit like that. It kind of sways a little bit and does give this sort of impression. If you're really deep dived into this whole role play, which I was, okay, hey, we're passing through the atmosphere down to Batuu in a Batuu shuttle. It's really cool. When you get there, you have this private entrance into Batuu, into Black Spire Outpost, right? I call it Batuu a lot, but it's Black Spire Outpost. You have your own private docking port. You come into the First Order section of Black Spire Outpost, and you get to begin your adventure on Batuu. Now, the theme park integration is really superb. It's really a great part of this interactive adventure. It works a lot like the old Kim Possible missions and Phineas and Ferb missions in Epcot, where you would go from point to point to point and do stuff, and it would activate different reactions, right? It does react a lot like that, except of course, you're continuing this game, you're continuing this ride or this attraction or whatever you want to call it. You're continuing it from yesterday, and it's still just going, and you're going to do stuff that is going to impact what you're going to do when you get back to the ship, because once you leave Galaxy's Edge, it continues. It keeps going. Unlike, say, Kim Possible, which I don't remember how long that was. Maybe about 30 minutes it would take to do a Kim Possible mission or something like that, But once it was over, once you left Epcot, it was over. But with this, of course, it continues. So you get to Batuu, and you have a whole list of things. I'll flash a few here on the screen about go here, meet this person, go make contact with my favorite resident of Black Spire Outpost, Hondo. I love Hondo. I do. He's an underworld character, a little sort of miscreant, maybe a little sort of nefarious, but also charming. Charming, quite the charming individual. I'm going to throw another quick shot here. You can see it of the game I mentioned before. Hondo's in the game in the Sims Journey to Batuu, which takes place there at Black Spire Outpost. And so I really love that. It's great. You're going to hook up with him. And how do you hook up with him? You're going to go on the Smuggler's Run, right? Because the ride has been designed to integrate with the Halcyon, with the Halcyon Interactive Adventure. When we got ready to get on the Falcon, Hondo's on the TV screen. He does say, if you've heard this is true, it happened with us. He said, "Oh, I see. Our passengers from the Halcyon have arrived," right? That's his clue to us. We're going on the mission. We're going to grab this coaxium. We're going to get it back up to the Halcyon. And it went very well. It went very well. We got the coaxium. We smuggled the coaxium back to Black Spire Outpost, as you know, if you've ever ridden Smuggler's Run, right? But that wasn't our only mission. I mean, we also had a mission that took us on Rise of the Resistance that dovetailed beautifully. Now, that's the thing. It's one thing to take the ride and say, well, I took the ride. That's part of my mission. It actually dovetails into the storyline very, very, very well. I was actually really amazed. That, in some ways, it was like the best trip I ever took to Black Spire Outpost to Galaxy's Edge. It really was. It added so much more to the theme park. Do I think they should integrate that sort of stuff for the everyday guest? Definitely. They should. Not just the people on the Halcyon, but just people coming in through the main gate. Kind of like the Kim Possible missions. It would be really, really cool. It was. It integrated through Rise of the Resistance. It integrated through the marketplace, through all the shops in that area. And it integrated through Oga's Cantina. Now, Oga's Cantina was the very first place we went when we got to Galaxy's Edge. I had an early reservation there. We had a couple of drinks. My son had the drink with the cookie on it, right? I had like a Bespin Fizz or whatever they call it. It's my favorite drink there. It's crazy expensive, that place, but we had a mission and we needed to collect some information that we were taking back up to the ship. I think it had to do with rescuing poor little SK back here, from the vile clutches of the First Order. Even though Lieutenant Croy's super cute. He's super cute. In all of his different incantations, all of them super cute. Still vile what they did to poor SK. So we've got SK. I think we got that information to help free SK or something. Anyway, we went to Oga's Cantina. It was a lot of fun. Very crowded there, as you probably already know. Thankfully, this time I got a seat at least. It was at a seat with a whole bunch of other people that I didn't know at a table at one of the alcove booths, but it was at least a seat. And it was a great start. It was a great start to that day, my birthday, right? My birthday drink at Oga's Cantina. And that was, that really did make it fun. It was a fun birthday to wake up in Star Wars and go to bed in Star Wars, a whole different sort of universe. That really was a good time. Now, about the time we got done with our missions and wrapped all that up, and it took a while. I mean, we're not talking like 10 minutes or something. We must have been at it, including the rides, a couple of hours. It took a while to do it. We went over to Droid Depot, and in fact, you know what? I'm going to pause this video real quick because I forgot. There's somebody I need to bring to the grouping back here. Give me just a second. Okay, I'm back. And who's with me? Little R2 A17, my birthday droid back there in black with the transparent dome. I really wanted the transparent dome, and I really wanted a blue one. I really had planned on doing blue, maybe blue and orange, but they were having supply issues, and they just didn't have that many parts at the Robot Droid Factory right over Droid Depot. It was fine. I love him. I love my little black guy. Plus, I got some parts. I might throw some pictures up there or something. I got some parts to kind of swap out with him because I've got like an orange transparent dome already. So I've got those sort of parts. I might dress them up a little bit. I want to switch them around a little bit. But that is my birthday droid there, R2 A17. And we did that. He and I both. My son also made an R unit droid. And I thought, hey, let's go take some pictures, right? Which you already know from earlier. You already know. It started to rain. It did. I was like, ooh, oh boy. And I'm checking my phone. I'm like, oh man, we're about to get some rain for like an hour or something, right? Which it needed. It was hot. It was hot, but we're about to get some rain. And thankfully we are done with our missions and we are done building the droid. We're done with going to Oga's Cantina. So at least that was done. And I'm not kidding. We headed back to the docking bay, take us back to the Halcyon. It started raining about the minute we hit that thing. I'm not kidding. And part of it's open air. So you have kind of a large opening in the First Order district. And then there's an open air sort of tunnel leads you back to where the shuttle actually is. Yeah, it poured. It poured rain. So much so that we stayed there, in the main First Order area, that main building, for a little bit, waiting for the rain to die down enough to dash through, down to where you get on the shuttle. which is another much smaller enclosed area. It is enclosed though, but it's much smaller. And we made it back. No rain, no melting this time because we didn't get wet. No rain. And we went back to the ship to have some lunch and continue our afternoon. And we were going to head back kind of early anyway. My son wanted to do the droid racing. There was also the sabacc tournament that afternoon. He wanted to take part in that as well. So we head back up to the ship. We grabbed some lunch in the dining room. Great lunch like always. I'll flash a few pictures here as I'm talking. Then my son went to do the droid race, right? So all the kids, I think some adults did it too. I can't remember. I think anybody could participate, right? And everybody brought their droids, I think everybody pretty much owned their droids. I think if you didn't have a droid, the ship had some that you could use. That's what I think. Don't hold me to that, but for some reason I do kind of feel that way. Like if you're a little kid and you didn't have one, maybe the ship had some extras. I don't know of any way even really to confirm that, but for some reason that is what I think.
That's my son right back there by the elevator doors. Getting ready to enter a brand new droid. Black Spire Batu Droid Depot.
That's okay, they can see it. All right, 3, 2, 1, go! Go, go, go!
No, you're good.
Who was our winner for that one? It was you? Amazing. Was it Tyler?
Yes.
Amazing job. Well, give me one moment. I'll speak. Well, thank you all for joining us for Trade Racing. It's going to wrap it up. Don't forget to at 1:30.
So proud of you.
So I watched him do the droid race. It was super cute. Very, very cute. My son came in second. He came in second place. He did very well. He almost made first place, but came in second place. And so it was a lot of great fun. Now, the sabacc tournament didn't go quite as well. He ended up out of that a little bit quickly. It could be my fault. I taught him to play sabacc. I'm not saying I'm an expert. I taught him just the day before, first of all. I thought he did pretty good for somebody that learned less than 24 hours ago how to play sabacc. But we did that. That was fun. And then there's just some more missions starting to gear up. We had bridge training kind of late mid-afternoon, right? So before we even had to be back from Batu, we had bridge training. And it was very exciting. Bridge training is fun. It was fun. It is maybe not as fun as lightsaber training. The sequence of events, the things you do, the consoles and panels that you learn how to control, to better help the ship, right? Or to drive the ship or fly the ship or defend the ship or what have you, are pretty simple, basic video games. And I mean pretty basic. I mean like Atari 2600, style video games. Now, that's not to suggest, like I said, that it's not fun. It was fun. I had fun doing it. It was a great thing to kind of go through and like, oh, so this is how you defend the ship. This is how you run the shields, but the basic graphics and the controls and the way of doing it, very, very simple. I do get why they have to do that. You have got people literally like little kids, young kids, and then you've got well, senior citizens, much older than I am, for sure. So you've got this wide range of people, all of whom kind of need to be able to grasp how the controls work very quickly. So if you've never played a video game and you don't know what Atari is, you don't even know what a computer is, you don't want to learn all that stuff. I mean, you've still got to be able to come up and say, okay, yeah, I can figure out how to turn this knob and push this button, right? So I totally get why they've got to keep it simple, but it's simple. It is pretty simple. Now, the thing with bridge training is, though, it is a step. It is a link in the storyline for the ship. And no matter when you do your bridge training, there is going to be an important link to the storyline of the ship that'll take place during your training. It'll be different. I think it'll always be different. Like, I think every single person's bridge training, that link, that thing that happens in the storyline is different for each person that's outside of your group, each group that goes, because they're not going to repeat the same thing over and over and over. So you're not going to really know what other people who did bridge training did, unless you talk to them, of course. You'll only know what happened during your bridge training. So, and it does kind of tie into what you learned. You do use what you learned first before you go and tackle, this mission that you end up on at the end of training that advances the storyline. And there were 2 times, actually, I was on the bridge as part of a mission. Now, part of it was bridge training, which is a general storyline type of advancement, right? But the mission that I took on the day before, the mission that I continued down on Batu, the mission that I came back to the ship to finish, we finished on the bridge. So there was a use of the bridge outside of bridge training that tied directly into the path I was on, the smuggler's path. So we do end up on the bridge again. We did do it again. And that was a lot of fun. That was very cool to be back there and have it really tie into my direct story path, right? As opposed to just the general one.
Plastic! Now, your coaxium will soon be aboard the Halcyon. And as we say in the completely legitimate shipping business, always give credits when credits are due. And my friends, credits are due.
Yeah, you'll get your money, Honda.
Yes, I know, I always do. Omega Transport Solutions hosts are 130% satisfied.
And the bridge was cool. That was it. The bridge was cool, super cool. Our bridge training was a lot of fun, simple, but fun. Now, that was pretty early in the afternoon. It's kind of late mid-afternoon. I think it was 3:30, maybe, something along those lines. There were a lot of other things to do that day. I'm going to show one picture of my itinerary here, and you can see basically as soon as something ended, something else was starting. It was bam, bam, bam. Now, dinner's in there, of course. That's part of it. Dinner's part of what I caught. Dinner at the captain's table. It was really good. My birthday dinner. That's part of why I did the captain's table. It was my birthday dinner. Now, I touched on that during food. We talked about food at that dinner, but I didn't talk about the entire experience. You do get things like the medallion. You get to sit at the big table in the middle of the room. Also, your group, while you're doing the captain's table, that's the same group you eat with the first night. So the first night you're with whoever you're going to be at the captain's table with on the second night, or vice versa. You're with that group and you're at a big table right at the front of the room, right by the stage by Gaia. So when Gaia performs her musical presentation on the first night, you get like a front row seat, right? Next night, you're at the captain's table with her, and the captain does stop by, as does Lieutenant Croy. Both of them relatively short visits. To be expected, of course, we are in the thick middle of the crisis at that point. I'm trying to remember exactly when the First Order takes over the Halcyon. I think the First Order by that point has taken over the Halcyon, right? So Lieutenant Croy's very busy. He has a ship to lock down, right? The captain is very busy. She has a ship to get back, right? So they're both very busy, but they do stop by the tables. They say hi. They kind of check in with you. They don't sit there and eat with you or anything like that, which was fine. There was a chair there for the captain, just in case we had not been in the middle of a crisis, but we were. Also, like I said, Gaia does not play that second evening In fact, if you have late dining the second evening, as soon as you're done with dining, you basically have to go out to the atrium for another crisis. There's always something happening. In that case, it's actually kind of the grand finale, the big grand finale, kind of crisis. Now, speaking of Gaia, who was very good, by the way, she was great when she performed for the dining room. I really enjoyed it. I like the music. It's a little bit like The Fifth Element. It's a little bit like The Fifth Element, but it's not a lot like The Fifth Element. It just kind of hints at that. And I do think if you've seen The Fifth Element and you've seen the diva perform in The Fifth Element, then you definitely will see this and feel a certain kinship to it. But it's kind of like their second cousins. They're not that close. They're not that close. She did a great job singing, though, and I felt like the performances were really good. There's a sort of side storyline that starts with a guy that's on board. He's an aspiring musician. That's coming up, in fact, because this guy, this aspiring musician, helps provide a diversion for one of my missions later. Because my mission, of course, was the heist, right? That was a big mission, the big storyline as a scoundrel, the heist. I don't want to do too many spoilers in these videos, but suffice to say, we are trying to liberate something for Gaia, specifically. We're trying to get something specifically for Gaia. And this guy who's an aspiring musician, what is his name? He's probably the only one I'm not going to remember. If it comes to me, I'll say it. But anyway, he's part of the diversion as part of the mission. And after dinner, there is that diversion. There is the actual heist. And there is the reuniting with Gaia and Wraith Cole down, well, kind of in the cargo hold. We were supposed to be in the cargo hold. There was not near enough room, of course. So we met in the antechamber to the cargo hold. And Gaia tells everyone thank you, right? Gaia is very happy that we've helped her with this particular mission. And Wraith Cole says thank you too, especially to the handful of people he actually knew, because this comes to the big failing of these missions. And the Disney marketing plan is, there were a few people, there were a handful of people with this particular storyline that got really major jobs to do. They got really major roles within the overall scheme of the adventure, right? They got them at meetings. And as you recall, the first meeting yesterday from that video from day one, it started late. That happened again 2 more times. Finally, I mean, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I just got there like 30 minutes early, for an adventure coming up, not part of the Wraith Cole storyline, the Scoundrel storyline, but another mission. I had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of irons in the fire. Anyway, the people that got chosen for the primary roles basically got chosen at those meetings, and they were chosen before not anybody else, but before a lot of us even got there for the meeting, because it happened again 2 more times that when you show up for the meeting, it's essentially over, right? It's done. So he acknowledges these couple handful of people. There were two handfuls of people that he knows by name. Right? The rest of us, he gives a sort of general, and all the rest of you that helped. Oh, it was great. Thank you so much for your help. Well, okay, yes, we did help. We did. It was obvious he didn't know who most of us were. Didn't know our names, didn't know who we were. We were the background characters. We were the extras. We were the people, like, in fact, with the musician, the aspiring musician, and that particular part of the mission, Wraith Cole actually says, as we walk up in time for the meeting and the meeting is over, oh, and all of you people arriving now, well, go over here with these. They're going to do this aspiring mission distraction, and you guys just be in the background and cheer. Which I did. I did do it. I wanted to do something. But, it felt really insignificant and not really important. And at the end, for that finale of that particular storyline, it felt like you really weren't that important. Now, the data pad does give you the impression that you're important. The computer does. And as far as that, the interchange on that is really good, but it's still just a computer. It's just pre-programmed video game, right? When you're there with everybody in the hallway, though, yeah, you really don't feel like you're really important or anybody really knew who you were or what you were there for, like, you could have just shown up at random. They wouldn't know you weren't even part of that storyline, really. You could have just walked in and just saw the finale part of it. So there was that was pretty disappointing. A lot of people wouldn't care. A lot of people probably would rather be in the background, be a sort of a background person. If you're someone like myself who would rather be a central player, in this adventure, right? Disney marketing sells it as you're the star. You're going to save the galaxy, or this particular mission, which isn't really saving the entire galaxy, but it definitely was important, right? It was important to somebody. And you want to be a central figure in that. It was really tough on this particular voyage. And all I can imagine is, for future reference, for you, and if I were to ever do it again, just push your way to the front. Show up to every meeting really, really early. And when you see them out there and they're talking to a bunch of other people, just go over there and shove your way through. Go over and shove your way through and push up to the front. Make sure they know you know who you are and know that you want to do it, because the time goes so fast. And when you've missed it, you've missed it. And that's basically what I did with the last meeting I was supposed to go to, which was with the cruise director. This tied into rescuing SK. And what I did was get there early. I got there early for the meeting, and when she wanted volunteers to help, I basically just pushed my way to the front. Like, me. I want to do something important that's physical and real, and not just on my computer, not just on my data pad or on a computer screen, but something that feels like I'm really participating in the action. I can do a computer screen at any single place on Disney World property. I mean, I could have done all the computer screen stuff, the data pad stuff from my hotel room at Pop Century. Not some of the computer monitor stuff that's actually on the Halcyon, but I could have done it with an interface on my phone that looked exactly the same. So yes, I pushed my way to the front, move out of my way. I don't care you're 5. You're not going to, no, I didn't do that. I didn't push any kids out of the way, but I was pretty insistent. Because it was like the last thing, it was pretty late in the evening by that point. And I did get to help, and I provided a distraction to distract Lieutenant Croy to help, SK get away. And this is a picture of me here. I stopped him and told him what a great fan I was of the First Order and wanted to get a photograph with him, like a selfie, right? I wanted to get a selfie with Lieutenant Croy. He wasn't really having it. He's not as friendly as you might expect. Like, if you thought the First Order was real lovey-dovey and kind of huggy and touchy-feely, they're not really like that. But I did get almost a selfie. He didn't know what a selfie was either. And I tried to explain, it's just a really quick holo scan. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. I'm going to put you on the HoloNet. He wasn't digging it. He was trying to get away. But I did help distract him, and I was like down in the stairwell watching for him so that I could alert the cruise director, right? He's coming. He's on his way. It was a lot of fun. It was fun to actually be a central part of that particular storyline. I was not part of the finale, though, for that storyline. But it was fun. I interacted with it at least to some extent, right? And that was fun. Now, after those two events, I did go to engineering, and I did help actually with the end of that storyline. Maybe the finale was just a different setup, because I did go to engineering and help create a plan of escape was what it was called. And that was with SK as well. So I was caught up in those two separate paths, really. And I did go to engineering and help with that. I just don't remember there being much of a finale at the end of it. I guess Sammy kind of told us all thanks and goodbye and stuff like that. Maybe that's what it was. After that was a little weird, because I was in the atrium and I was there like almost alone. It was so strange. It was so quiet. It was so empty. The lounge was pretty full. The lounge was almost completely full. It might have been completely full. I don't remember seeing a place to sit in there. Plus, I knew the grand finale was coming, right? So I'm in the lounge, so quiet, so alone. I think because they're wrapping up the Saja storyline. I got a story for that too. I'm going to come back to it here in a second. They're wrapping up the Saja storyline, right? So you're there for that finale, that path. They're wrapping up probably the captain and the cruise director. I feel like there must have been stuff going on with that I did miss. And the First Order storyline is basically kind of wrapping up whatever you were doing.
Hi, I'm Jason Sterling, and this is the RM Cascadian here on the HoloNet, except that I'm not on the RM Cascadian today, my modified Sinar Systems Utilipede transport. I am instead on the Halcyon Starliner for its 275th anniversary, recreating its very first voyage from the core planet of Chandrilla to the last post on the frontier, Batu, home of my son and myself and our base of operations for exploring wild space and the unknown quadrant. We pick up a lot of artifacts from there, and you can join our journey by buying a few of them at Zeltros, Capital City Core District, or right here on the HoloNet via direct link at the bottom of this scan. There's no telling what treasures we'll find on this voyage. We've already found Adventure. The First Order has boarded the ship and has started an investigation searching for resistance sympathizers. Right now I'm going to run downstairs and learn a little bit about the ancient religion and skill of wielding a lightsaber. Going to join my son there right now, and I'll join all of you again later.
Croy is wrapping up at that point, right? So it was weird and quiet, eerily so, out there all by myself, just kind of waiting. It's just really kind of dead zone time, waiting for the grand finale, which people do start to filter back in. Everyone's starting to gather in, right? And the First Order shows up, and you've probably seen this if you're thinking about going already. The grand finale is a big showdown between Kylo Ren, who is not appreciative of Lieutenant Croy, by the way. Lieutenant Croy's basically got this ship for him. I know they've got a ton of other... They actually don't have a ton of other ships because they lose ships like crazy. I mean, the First Order should have been glad that Lieutenant Croy tried to take over the Halcyon. They could use another vessel. Maybe this one won't get blown up. No, because their shit got blown up all the time. Am I right? Of course I'm right. Anyway, he wasn't really that appreciative of Lieutenant Croy. I didn't feel like... I'm not on their side, but still. So, Kylo Ren shows up. Rey has shown up. And see, Rey was part of the final Saja path as well. So that kind of ties into it, too. I wasn't there for that. My son was. I'm going to flash one little brief thing here. When he got this and he was invited to this, I was like, oh my God, you have to go. That's a big finale. Everyone wants to go to that finale. Well, I didn't. I wanted to be a smuggler. But I'm like, everyone wants to go to the finale. It's super cool. Don't miss it. So he went. It was super cool. He really did enjoy it. So, they show up. They have their big face-off. Now, there's two things here. The first one, like I said about the meetings and feeling left out, and sometimes the ball gets dropped a little bit. Somehow the ball got dropped with somebody else. This was another. Now, a lot of people showed up to these meetings with me, and we're all there at the correct time, but it's over, and they were confused. That happened more than once. But I saw a mom, and she was off the rails there at the very end. I think people were starting to assemble for the Saja line finale, right? The Saja Path finale. And she's down there going off on somebody because her daughter has not been included in anything, and she's missed out on most of this adventure, and she feels like she never gets there in time to do stuff, on and on and on, right? And I can sympathize with her. Now, she's handling it the wrong way because we don't need a space Karen. Okay, we don't need a space Karen pulling some sort of Sarlacc stuff, going to suck everybody into that pit, make us all part of her drama. No, we don't need that, but I could sympathize with her. And all I can guess is maybe she was trying to get her daughter into that finale, the Saja finale, and they had some pretty tight controls on that, as they did for the engineering room finale, where I'd been earlier. You had to kind of be buzzed in. You had to be on the list. There's someone at the door checking the list, right? Same thing with this other one. So I think she was trying to get her in there. Now, the thing is, you've paid $6,000 for your family of four to go, or more than that, $6,400 probably at this point, $6,500 when I went. So, even if your daughter's not a part of that path, if I were Disney, I would have let her go. There wouldn't have been any argument. I would just be like, yeah, sure. If she wants to join up, that's fine. Hey, go up and tell guest services that your daughter would like to participate and they'll add her to the list. And that's if that's required. I mean, if it were me and I had enough leeway, I would just add her myself as the person at the door. It's a kid and it's Disney and you paid a fortune to live out this dream. And that's a pretty simple thing that she wants to live out this part of the dream. Then yeah, you're included. Come on in. Right. This person was not getting that much cooperation. She was very upset. So I know there was someone else upset. The other thing with paying $6,000, $6,500. In my case, it was more like $5,200 for my son and I. The grand finale is Rey and Kylo, battling, having a lightsaber battle. And through most of the finale, Rey's lightsaber was broken. So it flickered out. And you could see her a couple of times when Kylo was speaking. So I guess she's hoping everyone's attention is focused on Kylo hitting it and trying to get it to come back on, right? So yeah, and then it was back on and she goes up there and she's like, and it fizzles out, and it's not the special one that lights all by itself because she did do the big swap with that. Okay. So she did the big swap with that so that, she had a regular lightsaber to battle Kylo with, but it did not work. Now that really is immersion breaking. It is. It's really immersion breaking. And maybe it's the first time that lightsaber had broken, but there probably should be something else there, like maybe another lightsaber off the side that she could go and swap out again, like when she swaps out for the one that she lights herself. That did work, by the way. She did light herself. Very cool. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there should be something there because you're paying so much for this immersion. It did break the immersion. Now, was it that big a deal? Not really. I wasn't really that invested in that storyline. I wasn't invested in those two people. As I said on the very first video, I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm not a super big fan of the sequels. I'm just not. And it's not because of Rey. Rey's a fine character. I don't mind Rey. I don't think she's a Mary Sue any more than half the other characters in Star Wars and other movies that are just super invincible, right? I mean, that's a common trope of those sort of movies. So that does not bother me. I think she's a likable enough character. I don't mind Kylo Ren. In fact, it was kind of funny to see Kylo Ren beat the shit out of stuff, right? He got pissed. It's kind of how you expect someone who's in league with the Sith. You expect them to go nuts sometimes and kind of tear stuff up. So, I don't have a problem with that, with him as a character. But I wasn't really invested in their storyline. I really didn't care how this fit between the movies or how this advanced the plot of the movies or anything to do with The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. It really didn't matter to me. It was fine to go out and watch the finale, and I did, and they had their battle. Some parts of it were pretty cool. Some parts of it were a little lame. Some parts of it felt like theme park acting. It felt like theme park kind of special effects style acting, right? Like you could just see on the surface of Batu, at Galaxy's Edge, or at Frontier City in Oklahoma City, where I'm from. We have a place called Frontier City, and it's an old Wild West type theme park. And they'll have like a gun battle or something, a shootout, right? It's about like that. After that, there is a big fireworks finale that you can watch from the bridge. It was fun. It was cool. Obviously, it's just a screen, but it did look very convincing, very real. Following that, you have a midnight dessert buffet down in the dining room. And that was really good. Again, it was kind of, I wouldn't say the desserts were all that much different from what we've had, but it was a lot of fun to go down, have a big midnight dessert buffet, right? And it was close to midnight. Now I say midnight, it was close to midnight. And the aspiring musician, he's playing down there for people, and as is, oh man, what's her name? The Rhodian DJ, right? I can't pronounce her name anyway, so I don't know it matters. Anyway, the Rhodian DJ's down there, and they're playing some music to accompany your dessert buffet with, and the evening and the adventure comes to an end. Fades to a close. And what can I say? It was a lot of fun. I mean, I stayed up a little bit later. I was exhausted, though. I'm not kidding. You have 48 hours of what Feels like just nonstop. Bam, 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 bam. Finally, I went to bed before my son did. My son stayed up a little bit later, but see, I had to have my wits about me the next day. I had to get us to our next, back to our resort, get our stuff together, stuff like that. So he could stay up a little bit later. He just stayed up a little bit later. I went to bed probably between midnight and 1, probably closer to 1. It was pretty late. And there were lots of people still up. I'm sure a lot of people stayed up till 2 a.m. God love them. More power to them. And it was a comfortable night's sleep again, and that was it. It was over. And the next day's day 3, disembarkation. Final review, was it worth it? Cost versus value analysis. Would I go again? Or is it one and done? Was it even worth one and done? We're going to see. We are going to talk about that in my next video. Video number 4, final video for the Galactic Star Cruiser. Video number 4, day number 3. Because for now, I'm in bed asleep. I'm probably going to go to bed and go to sleep right now. It's getting a little late for me here. But please hit like, subscribe, and notify. And then please join me for video number 4, the final video in this series. And until then, thanks for watching. Let me just say real quick, I want to add in here at the end, I almost forgot this. This was very cute. I really like this a lot. This is the robot in your room, the sort of like concierge robot, right, that you should check in with all the time, see what's going on. She will tell you a bedtime story, and this was incredibly, incredibly cute. So you have her telling you the story of Luke Skywalker blowing up the Death Star, of course, Star Wars, the first film, but from the viewpoint of R2-D2. So it's R2-D2 relating the story from his viewpoint, and then she's telling it to you. And it was very cute. I wish I'd done it the first night, because there was probably a bedtime story that night as well. So do that. If you do happen to go, check out the bedtime story from your room's robot. What is her name? Me and names. Oh my gosh. Anyway, check out the bedtime story from your room's robot. And you can hear this one right now if you want to. If not, skip it if you don't want any spoilers like that. But if you do, check it out next.
I'm just glad the battle is over. You know, in some ways, this journey has been a bit out of control, but also it's been remarkable. What part of this trip will you remember most? Before we part ways, can I offer you anything like a bedtime story or a lullaby?
How about a bedtime story?
This is a story you may be familiar with, but not many in the galaxy have heard the true version, which was carefully researched by some of my fellow droids. Would you like to hear it?
Sure. Yes, I would.
Excellent. It's a story about one of the greatest heroes in galactic history. Someone brave, selfless, and clever who defeated the Empire almost entirely by himself. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Please know that you can stop me at any time by simply turning off my panel. Don't worry, I won't be offended. Now, let's begin. Not that long ago, there was a great civil war. The Galactic Empire was doing its utmost to inspire fear and discord throughout the galaxy. But, as is the case so often, when you find bullies, you find the brave people who stand up to them. Those were the rebels. And this story starts just after they had won their first important battle against the Empire. It was during this battle that spies stole secret plans for the Empire's terrible weapon, the Death Star. Despite being pursued by Darth Vader, the rebels entrusted the plans to one of their greatest leaders, someone fierce, witty, and beautiful. That's right, R2-D2. So, as stormtroopers attacked his ship, R2 boldly rolled through weapon fire and, along with his fearless companion, C-3PO, blasted off the rebel ship in an escape pod. He landed on the dangerous desert world of Tatooine, where he and C-3PO wisely decided to split up to increase their odds of finding help. But when R2 realized he wasn't making enough progress, he hatched a dangerous scheme, allowing himself to be captured by local Jawa traders. Thankfully, R2's plan worked perfectly, and he and C-3PO were quickly reunited and sold to a young local moisture farmer. But, unfortunately, a restraining bolt was placed on R2 in the process. Knowing that the entire galaxy was resting on his metal shoulders, R2 tricked the moisture farmer into removing his restraining bolt, and then, wishing to protect the naive farmer from his dangerous task, set off boldly into the desert in the middle of the night, looking for an old companion of his from the Clone Wars named Obi-Wan Kenobi. R2 had nearly reached his contact when the foolish moisture farmer arrived and got himself attacked by sand people. R2 carefully hid from the sand people, staying safe until Obi-Wan arrived. Having reached his ally, R2 quickly showed him the complete rebel message, and R2 and Obi-Wan agreed to take the moisture farmer with them and train him in their ways. They soon hired a ship called the Millennium Falcon to take them to Alderaan, where R2's secret plans could be delivered. Unfortunately, the Empire reached Alderaan first, destroying the planet with their horrible Death Star. Cornered and trapped, R2 had the brilliant idea to hide under the ship's floorboards and allow the Falcon to be boarded, bringing him into the belly of the Death Star itself. Once inside, R2 wheeled into action, finding a computer terminal and gaining direct access to the Death Star's mainframe. This allowed him to discover that an important rebel leader, Princess Leia Organa, was being held on board. R2 then directed his companions to launch a rescue mission, with R2 providing crucial support by slicing into the Death Star systems and helping them escape. With the princess secured, R2 and his crew successfully left the Death Star and joined the rest of the rebels on Yavin 4. R2's mission was complete. He had delivered the Death Star plans, and no one could have blamed him for taking a much-deserved break. But no, this shiny hero soldiered on, agreeing to take part in a dangerous assault on the Death Star itself. Along with the moisture farmer, who served as an organic co-pilot and assistant, R2 flew his X-Wing fighter to the Death Star. Their target was a tiny exhaust port on the exterior of the mighty battle station. As they approached the port, R2 was struck and badly injured by blaster fire. But still he continued, and together with some help from the moisture farmer, R2's X-Wing fired a proton torpedo that destroyed the Death Star. The rebels celebrated, and after R2 was rejuvenated with fresh parts, he humbly refused to accept a medal for his actions, choosing instead to watch from the sidelines as his organic companions received awards for their work assisting him on his fateful mission. The end. What did you think?
I thought that was wonderful.
I'm so glad you liked it. Well, thank you so much for listening to that story. It's one of my favorites. And I know most of the other droids on board love it as well. Now, I'm afraid it's getting quite late. I really should let you begin your sleep cycle. Until then, best journey.
Best
onward.
journey.